how to create an assignment using Turnitin for text matching. So in your course, go to Assessments, Assignments, and then New Assignment. And I'm going to initially create a draft check so students can, for Turnitin, can see how well their assignment is working with Turnitin, and they can also get some grammatical tips before they hand in the real assignment. This is recommended. So leave it ungraded, don't put a due date. And by the way, it's initially set as unlimited. However, in the instructions, I'm going to put that it's the first 3 attempts are checked immediately, but afterwards it's checked after 24 hours and it's not graded. After that's done, go into Evaluation and Feedback and scroll to the bottom and choose Manage Turnitin. And check the box Enable Similarity Report for this folder, and then allow learners to see the similarity scores in their submission folder. Then I'm going to leave it at automatic checked, and then I'm not going to check Enable Online Grading because this is the draft that is not graded. And then hit scroll down to the bottom and hit More Options. The default is to not have these papers go into the database, to the repository. And this is proper for drafts to not actually have them contribute to the repository. It's also recommended to keep the grammar checking enabled. This uses artificial intelligence. And I would just go with the defaults. And then scroll to the very bottom. I would the only other thing I'd add is if you are using a template that you want, an initial document that you want everybody to add to, then you can upload that template so the instructions on that template or the first part of it doesn't get included in the text matching. And then submit. And then save these changes and make it visible to users. And then save and close. Then I'm going to make the real assignment, New Assignment, and I'm going to call it Term Paper. You can upload a document or template here. You can type instructions here if you wish, and go into this. You also can set and make it worth points, and I'm going to add it to the Grade Center. If the Grade Center to term already exists, you could click here and choose an existing column. In my case, it doesn't exist, so it's creating a new one. And then I could set the due date, and I also could set when I want students to start seeing it. In my case, I want them to see it immediately, so I'm not going to set this. You can also set an end date, and this can be, in effect, a hard due date. If I do not want to accept papers after midnight, after the due date, then I can choose that also as the end date, and then the link doesn't even, it's not clickable. Now, if you evaluation and feedback, if you are going to use a rubric, I recommend not using a D2L rubric because there are rubrics in Turnitin that are separate, and you can't import them. You have to recreate them. I'm going to have another video on rubrics later, but I just wanted to let you know about that feature. And then go into Manage Turnitin and enable the similarity report. This takes a minute for the display to show because we have to load Turnitin. Now that it's shown, I can display this to my students, but I'm not going to because that's done in the draft. So this is just for me. Also, I can either automatically check all of them, or if I have some students that are have opted out of Turnitin, then I can choose Identify Individual Submissions, and then I would have to not include their name when I submit all the papers. I'm going to leave mine on automatic, and then I'm going to enable the online grading folder, and then I'm going to do automatic sync. If I was doing identifying submissions, then I would choose manual sync, and then more options. In this case, I am going to put this in the repository, so the standard paper repository. And I don't have to include enable grammar checking because that was done in the draft. Everything else is good though, and a couple of useful features here is that I can exclude the bibliographic material, so it's not checking that because everybody's is going to be the same. Similarly with properly quoted materials. And it can also exclude small sources. You may not do this in your class, but if you do, you can adjust the word size. You could do percentages, but some papers are long and even a small percentage will still be a lot of words. And so it's usually better to stay on the number of words. Here's where you can load the template if you've already loaded it in your assignment. And I'm not going to save these changes because it might be different for different papers, but if you do, then the next time you open this, all these will be the same. And then submit, and then save. And then I'm going to make it visible to my students, and then save and close. And that is how to create assignments using Turnitin.